Do your fingers reach for the glowing screen before your mind finds calm? And does the surge of notifications stir unease before your first breath of dawn? In this quiet moment, when the sky unwraps a hush of rose and gold, you are invited into stillness deeper than any feed, a sanctuary where your awakening heart meets the faithful God who kept watch through the night. He is your steadfast refuge, patient to listen long before pixels shine. Here you can lay schedules and fears upon his altar. Trust him to align every hidden motive, and let his spirit chart the steps that will become today's living devotion. The Psalm 5 finds 3a, at daybreak you speak, and he hears, his mercy rises with the sun. In this promise you find courage to wait before rushing. His faithfulness welcomes you into the hours ahead. What burden will you entrust to his attentive love? And what desire will you surrender to his open hand? Now, as your heart grows still, we step into the dawn together. You stand at the threshold of morning like a quiet shoreline greeting an incoming tide. No wave crashes. Only a hush spreads across the sands of your awareness. Before any electric glow claims your attention, draw a deliberate breath and notice the unhurried rhythm filling your lungs. Hear the small rustle of leaves beyond the window, the tentative cadence of a bird testing its first hymn. These sounds are divine whispers, shaping peaceful contours within you. In this gentle pause, you discover that serenity is not the absence of activity, but the attunement of heart, a calm strong enough to cradle every demand that awaits. Picture your thoughts as a flock of sparrows darting from branch to branch. Keep your gaze on the horizon, and each fluttering concern settles in calm sequence, summoned by a voice older than sunrise. Isaiah 26:3. Perfect confidence blossoms when your mind stays fixed on his unwavering love. Tranquility becomes the harvest of trust. The promise is clear: when attention is offered to God first, pressure forfeits its throne. The itch to scroll soon surfaces, urging proof that the world still spins, that no midnight crisis escaped your vigilance. Let the phone rest face down like a gate closed against wandering livestock, and the pasture of your mind remains lush and untrampled. Instead of curated images, you receive unedited grace. Instead of ceaseless updates, you encounter timeless assurance that heaven has already absorbed every alert and remains unshaken. Welcome 3 gentle patterns into these earliest minutes. First, allow silence to linger until you can name what you hear within it. Perhaps gratitude rising like mist, perhaps sorrow seeking shelter. Recognize both without judgment. Each is an invitation rather than an intrusion. Second, shape one short sentence of devotion. You are here, and that is enough. And let it pulse with every heartbeat until distraction loses stamina. Third, lift today's plans as blank parchment, asking the Spirit to inscribe only what leads to life, giving him room to reorder priorities before you stamp them with urgency. So Psalm 460 cease striving. The divine stands exalted above data and deadlines, sovereign over calendars and crises. When you release the myth of constant reaction, you inherit the rhythm of creation itself. Observe how patient the sun is while climbing the sky. No algorithm hastens dawn, no alert prods the Earth's orbit. Your being was crafted for similar unforced movement, and in receiving that cadence, anxiety loosens its grip while discernment sharpens, like starlight lingering behind a pale blue veil. return one last time to the steady drum of your heart. Feel cool air expanding in your chest. Sense the gentle warmth where divine nearness rests upon your shoulders. You are not idle, you are aligning. Every breath declares that productivity is birthed from presence, and presence is born in quiet. Let this hush outweigh every competing call, so that when you finally lift the screen, you carry an atmosphere no inconvenience can disperse. Technology will then serve rather than rule, because you first opened your heart before opening your phone, and the day now moves to the tempo of sacred stillness. You feel a gentle stirring within, like rose-tinted light slipping through shutters that have long kept emotion in the dark. Beneath yesterday's layers of responsibility pulses a quiet thrum, urging you to notice its cadence. Place a hand over your chest and sense that measured beat. Each throb is a quiet knock, heaven's patient request for entry. When screens stay dim, awareness sharpens memory's surface, motives rise, hidden wounds whisper for mending. In this tender exposure you discover that the core of your being was created to receive affection before it distributes endurance, to breathe in grace before it exhales service. Imagine a frost-kissed bud beginning to unfurl, cells swell with warmth, petals curve toward light. Fragrance gathers in anticipation. Your interior responds the same way when divine love shines. You are not fabricating resolve. You are absorbing radiance that will translate into courage. Ezekiel 36:6. The Holy One promises a new center, soft in place of stone. The promise is not self-manufactured but bestowed. Accepting that gift means allowing kindness to flow through every hidden corridor, cleansing grudges that once calcified like winter ice. Now recall how hurried judgments often crowd the dawn. Unfinished tasks scroll across imagination. Comparisons scroll through memory. Instead of chasing those specters, invite the Spirit to walk the halls of recollection with lantern in hand. Let illumination reveal where fear camped overnight, where resentment erected unsafe barricades. As each door swings open, see dust swirl in the beam, yet feel no condemnation, only invitation to reorder. Walls once decorated with unmet expectations can now display fresh portraits of trust. Guard this renovation through 3 daily choices. First, cultivate curiosity toward emotion rather than suspicion. When disappointment arises, ask what ache lies beneath instead of silencing it with productivity. Second, practice gratitude specific enough to name color, texture, and scent. The cool slate of morning air, the earthy aroma of coffee, the faint hum of distant traffic reminding you that community stirs beyond your window. Third, bless the people who will cross your path before you encounter them. Picture their faces and speak silent goodwill, so your first words later are already seasoned with empathy. Proverbs 4:23. Every journey is shaped by the flow that springs from your inmost well. Diligent attention there determines the terrain ahead. Your vigilance, therefore, begins not on a timeline app, but inside this sanctuary of flesh and spirit. Here divine artistry carves channels for wisdom, so decisions downstream reflect origins upstream. Before stepping into tasks, listen for a single word from eternity. Maybe steady, maybe Shane, maybe yield. Treat that whisper like a seed. Tuck it into memory. Let it germinate throughout commute, meeting, conversation. When reluctance clouds action, recall the seed and feel resolve blossom once more. In this way, the awakened core becomes navigator, and technology shifts from master to servant, amplifying rather than dictating purpose. Pause again, inhale slowly, filling the cathedral of ribs, exhale, releasing anything brittle. Sense warmth spreading from sternum to fingertips, a silent anthem of becoming. You are not merely awake, you are alive to the presence that authored light itself. And because your interior dawn now glows, every subsequent glance at a device will echo with this brilliance instead of competing with it. Carry forward, vessel of quiet flame, ready for sacred alignment that the next section will unfold. You step deeper into dawn's sanctuary, where quiet has matured from simple hush to attentive expectancy, like a meadow poised to drink the first rain. A subtle breeze nudges curtains, and you notice how easily small sounds emerge when louder ones are restrained, the creak of settling timber, the faint hum of distant traffic, the single drop from a kettle's cooling rim. Each note becomes an invitation to perceive reality instead of merely observing it. Listening is not passive, it is the deliberate surrender of dominance, the choice to become soil rather than storm. Begin by releasing the urge to script what God should say. Picture yourself beside a placid lake. Thoughts ripple on the surface, yet silence stretches beneath, dark, vast, untroubled. You cannot force water to stillness, but you can refrain from tossing more stones. Let distractions float past like drifting leaves. Greet them, then allow them onward until only breath remains. Inhale as if taking the universe into your being. Exhale as if offering its weight back to the one who governs galaxies. Notice how the heart, once awakened, grows sensitive to whispers. A single word, peace, courage, mercy, may alight upon consciousness like a swallow skimming water. Resist dissecting it. Instead, cup it gently. Whisper, speak, and believe response will arrive. Psalm 1 Samuel 3 Teved. The same voice that summoned a boy in temple corridors still seeks attentive souls. When reply is willingness, revelation follows, shaped for today's landscape. Practice 3 postures that sharpen inner hearing. First, physical stillness, lower shoulders, unclenched jaws. Rest palms upward to signify receptive trust. Second, scriptural echo, recite 1 remembered line slowly, letting syllables settle between heartbeats. In those pauses, meaning grows fertile. Third, compassionate imagination. Hold the coming meeting, errand, or conversation before the Lord and ask what tone, question, or silence could bless the other person most. Then wait until an impression weighs warm upon your spirit. Technology will clamor, promising flashes of insight at lightning speed, yet true wisdom often descends at the pace of dew. When you eventually power on the screen, commit to intervals of intentional muting. Let 30-minute stretches become common, auditory Sabbaths within bustling hours. During each pause, revisit the morning's whispered phrase and measure your words, emails, and gestures against it. If they harmonize, continue. If discord resonates, course correct with gentle humility. Listening is ongoing dialogue rather than brief ceremony. Expect obstacles, sudden headlines that shock, colleagues whose urgency eclipses courtesy, memories that trigger doubt. When inner static rises, pause, breathe, and recall how easily early light dissipated night shadows. The same radiance dwells within you now. You need not amplify turmoil with instant commentary. Silence often speaks courage louder than hurried opinion. Toward midday, Test what you have heard by serving somebody quietly. Hold a door, offer water, send a note of genuine encouragement. Such actions verify that the message absorbed was indeed love, for every authentic word from God manifests as life-giving deed. By evening, you may review the day and recognize traces of guidance you did not consciously plan, a conversation rerouted into reconciliation, a decision postponed until clarity bloomed, a burden shared because you sensed hidden sorrow behind casual greeting. These outcomes prove that listening prayer molds reality as certainly as spoken petition. As dusk prepares its violet veil, you will discover gratitude rising unforced, for the hours unfolded not around algorithmic urgency, but around relational attunement. The device in your pocket remained tool rather than tyrant, and your soul, trained in attentive presence, now hears even star wind rustling against the edges of night. Rest, then confident that the one who whispered in morning will sing through dreams, tuning you for another dawn of sacred alignment. You rise from listening prayer as though stepping onto a quiet path where sunlight dapples moss, and each footfall echoes eternity's cadence. The Spirit has whispered. Now the invitation is to weave that melody through every thread of today. Alignment is not rigid compliance, but harmonious resonance. Like strings tuned to one pitch, your motives, plans, and resources vibrate with heaven's key. Begin by holding your calendar in imagination's palm, appointments, errands, looming deadlines. Instead of viewing them as immovable stones, picture them as river, smooth pebbles that the divine may rearrange to redirect flow. Speak aloud. Shape this day to your design. Then wait for one meeting to glow brighter, one task to dim, one margin to widen for rest. Jesus modeled this pliant rhythm, retreating at dawn to commune, emerging with clarity that pierced crowding demands. Mark 1:35, intimacy preceded initiative, direction flowed from devotion, not the reverse. Follow the pattern by anchoring every action in surrendered affection. Practice 3 habits. First, decide pace, refuse frantic stride. Walk corridors slower, allowing breath to sync with steps, demonstrating that presence outranks speed. Second, calibrate speech. Before each conversation, whisper. Season these words with grace. Then notice how tone softens, volume mellows. Third, consecrate transitions. When closing a document or parking the car, linger 5 heartbeats to thank God for the segment just lived and invite Him into the next. These micro-liturgies etch sacred geometry onto ordinary minutes. Expect competition for alignment. Notifications will flare, tempting multitask marathons. When tension spikes, pause and recall oak branches swaying yet anchored. Their movement is responsive, not reactionary. Likewise, flexibility rooted in conviction prevents whiplash. Colossians 3:17, whatever activity unfolds, speech or deed, let it originate in reverence, carried on the current of gratitude. Such consciousness converts routine into worship, spreadsheets into psalms, phone calls into prayers. Guard motives by examining hidden appetites. Recognition, control, security. If a plan's success secretly feeds ego, loosen its grip. If fear drives acceptance of every request. Remember, boundaries are gifts, not guilt. Alignment thrives where purity of intent meets courage to decline. Say no, not in reluctance, but in confident trust that your yes must remain clear and potent. Technology can reinforce this posture when subordinated set focus modes that mirror spiritual priorities. Blocks for deep work. Alerts only from people who truly matter. Gentle chimes reminding you to stretch body and spirit. Let algorithms serve sanctity by shielding attention from trivial noise. Toward afternoon, review progress. Are tasks unfolding with peace? Have interruptions become opportunities rather than obstacles? Celebrate each moment you redirected impatience into kindness. Each instance you exchanged self-assertion for empathetic pause. Such checkpoints prevent drift and invite mid-course blessing. James 3:17 Wisdom that descends is first pure, then peaceable, approachable, merciful, blooming with good fruit. Hypocrisy finds no foothold. Measure your decisions against that mirror where reflection wavers. Realign without shame. As evening glows on the horizon, imagine threads gathered into a vibrant tapestry, meetings woven with patience, chores stitched with gratitude, rest bordered by trust. Alignment has transformed chronology into choreography. Hours dance instead of drag. You retire knowing tomorrow's page already lies before the master artisan, ready for fresh patterning. By nurturing sacred resonance today, you ensure tomorrow begins tuned, and the cycle of holy rhythm continues unbroken. You move from alignment into motion, aware that every decision becomes a footprint on soft soil the spirit has prepared. Picture a forest path where beams of gold stipple the ground. Each shaft of light lands precisely where your next stride should fall. You need not predict the entire trail, only attend to the shimmer directly ahead. Begin by identifying today's first tangible action. Perhaps drafting a proposal, comforting a friend, tackling a lingering chore. Hold it in mind as a seed. Then, instead of forcing growth, ask what condition of heart will let it sprout. If courage is required, breathe courage. If gentleness is needed, inhale gentleness. The quality precedes the task, just as dawn precedes daylight's labor. Notice how guidance often appears ordinary. A sudden memory of someone who needs encouragement, an inner nudge to leave 5 minutes early that spares you traffic, an impulse to pause a conversation and truly listen. Resist dismissing these prompts as coincidence. Treat them like breadcrumbs left by a faithful guide. When hesitation surfaces, should you speak or stay silent? Should you press send or wait? Return to the stillness cultivated at sunrise. Lay the option on that inner altar and wait until peace, not pressure, settles over one choice. 3 practices make your steps sure. First, articulate intention aloud before beginning a task. May this email foster clarity, or may these groceries nourish community. The spoken purpose acts like a compass, preventing drift into self-interest. Second, embrace the detour when circumstances shift. Ask, what hidden gift lies on this alternate route? Detours often carry provisions unavailable on the original map. Third, close each completed assignment with gratitude whisper, thank you, and release attachment to outcome, trusting results to the one who directed the effort. Technology can reinforce guidance when managed wisely. Set reminders labeled not only with deadlines, but with virtues. Prepare presentation with patience. Review budget with integrity. Such tags turn alerts into miniature prayers. Use location-based prompts sparingly, as constant buzzing dulls sensitivity. Let silence remain your default, so divine whispers are never drowned. Expect resistance, inner skepticism that asks, did God really suggest that? or external voices urging shortcuts. When uncertainty presses, recall the morning's earliest hush, where anxiety dissolved and truth emerged. You can pause mid-meeting, mid-errand, mid-sentence, drawing a breath that reconnects to that sanctuary. Even 1 second of attentive stillness can redirect an entire conversation. As afternoon wanes, reflect on the footprints behind you. Perhaps you offered unexpected compliment that softened tension, chose compassion over sarcasm, or rescheduled work to honor rest. Each instance proves that guidance is not abstract. It materializes in manners, timings, and tones. Celebrate small obediences. They aggregate into character. And should any step feel misplaced, return without shame to the path. Correction is woven into guidance like north is woven into every compass. When twilight gathers, your gait slows, not from exhaustion but from fulfilled purpose. You have walked in partnership with wisdom, and even mundane tasks gleam with quiet significance. Place tomorrow's blank slate before the Lord as night settles. Sleep becomes trust, and trust becomes preparation for another dawn where screens wait patiently until heart opens first. You step from prayer into daylight, carrying an inner flame that refuses confinement, eager to kindle warmth wherever shadows linger. The screen you once feared would hijack intention now becomes a lantern, channeling encouragement instead of distraction. Because your heart has chosen first allegiance well. Imagine a river released from winter's grip. Snowmelt surges through valleys, watering fields that waited months for life. Likewise, every interaction today becomes an outlet for the grace accumulated at dawn. Emails seasoned with patience, errands infused with courtesy, responsibilities handled with integrity that glimmers even in routine corridors. Begin by naming the first person you will meet. Silently wish them flourishing before words form on your lips. If conflict is expected, envision soft rain taming dry soil so seeds of understanding can germinate. Carry that vision into dialogue, allowing pauses where empathy grows and defensiveness shrinks. Let body language echo gentleness. Eyes that linger, shoulders relaxed, hands unclenched. Communicating worth that transcends performance. When decisions demand courage, remember morning's stillness. Breathe deep. Recall the whisper that affirmed your identity, then act even if applause is absent. In such moments, devotion shifts from sentiment to substance, crafting testimonies more persuasive than any status update. Adopt 3 rhythms to sustain outward generosity. First, practice unnoticed kindness. Pick up litter, return cards, send anonymous gifts. Secrecy heightens joy because motives stay tethered to love. Second, weave brief Sabbath breaths throughout hustle. 15 seconds to close eyes, inhale gratitude, and reset tone, preventing fatigue from eroding compassion. Third, conclude each interaction with blessing. Inwardly speak. May peace accompany you, planting invisible seeds that bloom long after conversation ends. These small graces weave an invisible hymn across city streets and office hallways, turning commonplace scenery into cathedral aisles. Expect fatigue. Reservoirs drain when many draw from them. When weariness creeps, pause notifications, step outside if possible, and let sunlight remind you of inexhaustible source. You are conduit, not origin. The current you share flows from boundless mercy. Trust that relinquishing control invites surprising provision, an encouraging message arriving just when morale dips. a solution surfacing after humble admission of need. Recognize such moments as signatures of a guide committed to sustaining every willing heart. As dust settles, review the day like an artist stepping back from canvas. You may notice brushstrokes of forgiveness where anger threatened, splashes of creativity where doubt lurked, subtle hues of patience shading hectic schedules. Celebrate, not to magnify ego, but to honor the one who painted alongside you. Where smudges appear, impatient words, missed opportunities, bring them into evening prayer for gentle correction. Each day teaches technique for tomorrow's masterpiece. Living devotion matures through continual practice, not instantaneous perfection. Rest now, certain that the device by your bedside will be servant again come morning, because your spirit has learned to wake before circuits. The glow you carry springs from a source no battery can rival, and the world will recognize its brilliance long after screens dim. Feel the hush that lingers after purposeful living, like silver mist settling on a calm lake. Let gratitude list itself across your thoughts. Breaths received, mercies noticed, chances to serve. Acknowledge one area needing fresh surrender, trusting tomorrow's dawn to supply courage. Envision the faces you blessed today and picture joy spreading outward, rippling beyond your view. Hold that image gently, then release it into God's keeping. Breathe once more, letting silence expand until only peace remains.